Oh, hello, great readers. I'm Bill Chan.
I'm Nimacum.
I'm Van Chan.
In this class, I'll read to all of you a part of Ulysses.
Bess.
L.
Ulysses. James Joyce. Chap. 1669. S. Mr. Bloom thoroughly agreed, entirely endorsing the remark. That was overwhelmingly right. And the whole world was full of that sort of thing. You just took the words out of my mouth. He said. A hocus pocus of conflicting evidence that candidly you couldn't remotely. All those wretched quarrels, in his humble opinion, stirring up bad blood, from some bump of combativeness or glen of some kind, earnestly supposed to be about a punctilio of honour and a flag, were very largely a question of the money question which was at the back of everything. Greed and jealousy, people never knowing when to stop. They accuse, remarked he audibly. Shoes, he swiftly imparted in an aside in Stephen's ear, are accused of ruining. Not a vestige of truth in it, I can safely say. History, would you be surprised to learn, proves up to the hell-Spain decade when the Inquisition handed the Jews out and England prospered when Cromwell, an uncommonly able ruffian who in other respects is much to answer for, imported them. Why? Because they are imbued with the proper spirit. They are practical and are proved to be so. I don't want to indulge in any because you know the standard works on that. Subject and then orthodox as you are. But in the economic, not touching religion, to main the priest spells poverty. Spain again. You saw in the war. Compared with Go Ahead America. Dirks. It's in the dogma. Because if they didn't believe they'd go straight to heaven when they die, they'd try to live better. At least so I think. That's the juggle on which the raised the wind on fuss pretenses. And he resumed with dramatic force. As good an Irishman as that very person I told you about at the outset. And I want to see everyone, concluded he. All creeds and classes pro rata having a comfortable to sized income. In no good fashion either. Something in the neighbourhood of 300 per annum. That's the vital issue at stake, and it's feasible and would be provocative of friendlier intercourse between men and men. At least that's my idea for what it's worth. I call that patriotism. You be patriot, as we learned a smattering of in our classical days in alma mater. Vita bene. Where you can live well. The senses. If you work. Over his untestable apology for a cup of coffee. Listening to this synopsis of things in general. Stephen stared at nothing in particular. He could hear Of course. All kinds of words change in colour like those crabs about Ringsend in the morning burrowing quickly into all colours of different sorts of the same sun where they had a home somewhere beneath or seemed to. Then he looked up and saw the eyes that said or didn't say the words. The voice he heard said, "If you work, count me out." He managed to remark, meaning work. The eyes were surprised at this observation because as he, the person who unimproved him, observed, or rather his voice speaking did, almost worked. After, together. I mean, of course. The other hastened to affirm, work in the widest possible sense. Also literary labour, not merely for the keydos of the thing. Writing for the newspapers, which is the radio channel nowadays. That's work too. Important work. After all, from the little I know of you, after all the money expended on your education, you are entitled to recoup yourself and command your price. You have every bit as much right to live by your pen in pursuit of your philosophy as the peasant has. What? You both belong to Ireland. The brain and the brawn. Each is equally important. You suspect? Stephen retorted with a sort of a half-laugh. That I may be important because I belong to the Fabog St. Peter's called Ireland. For short. I would go a step further, Mr. Bloom insinuated. But I suspect, Stephen interrupted, that Highland must be important because it belongs to me. What belongs? Queried Mr. Bloom, bending, fancying he was perhaps under some misapprehension. Excuse me. Unfortunately, I didn't catch the latter portion. What was it you? We can't change the country. Let us change the subject. At this pertinent suggestion, Mr. Bloom, to change the subject, woke down but in a quandary, as he couldn't tell exactly what construction to put on belongs to, sounded rather a far cry. The rebuke of some kind was clearer than the other part. Needless to say, the fumes of his recent orgy spoke them with some asperity in a curious bitter way for into his sub-estate. Probably the home life to which Mr. B attached that most importance had not been all that was needful, or he hadn't been familiarised with the right sort of people. With a touch of fear for the young man beside him, whom he furtively scrutinized, with an air of some consternation, remembering he had just come back from Paris, the eyes more especially reminding him forcibly of father and sister, failing to throw much light on the subject. However, he brought to mind instances of cultured fellows that promise so brilliantly nipped in that, but of premature decay and nobody to blame but themselves. For instance, there was the case of O'Coggan, for one, the hemp-crazy fetist, respectably connected though of inadequate means, with his mad vagaries among whose other gay doings when Rarto and making himself a nuisance to everybody all around. He was in the habit of ostentatiously sporting in public a suit of brown paper effect, and then the usual denouement after the fun had gone on fast and furious. He got landed into hot water and had to be spirited away by a few friends after a strong hint to a blind horse from John Mallon of Lower Castle Yard, so as not to be made amenable under Section 2 of the Criminal Law Amendment. I bet certain names of those subpoenaed being handed in but not divulged for reasons which will occur to anyone with a pick of brains. Briefly, putting 2 and 2 together, 616, which he pointedly turned a deaf ear to, Antonio and so forth, Chucky's and aesthetes, and the tattoo which was all the go in the 70s or thereabouts, even in the House of Lords, because early in life the occupant of the throne, then heir apparent, they're the members of the Upper Ten and other high personages simply following in the footsteps of the head of the state. He reflected about the eras of notorieties and crowned his running counter to morality such as the Cornwall case a number of years before under their veneer in a way scarcely intended by nature. I think good Mrs. Grundy, as the law stands, was terribly down on, though not for the reason they thought they were probably whatever. It was except women chiefly who were always fiddling more or less at one another, it being largely a matter of dress and all the rest of it. Ladies who like distinctive underclothing should, and every wall tailor man must, trying to make the gap wider between them by innuendo and give more of a genuine fill-up decks of impropriety between the two. She unbuttoned his, and then he untied her. Mind the pin. Whereas savages in the Cannibal Islands, they, at 90 degrees in the shade, not carrying a continental. However, reverting to the original, there were on the other hand others who had forced their way to the top, from the lowest rung by the aid of their bootstraps. Sheer force of natural genius, that, with brains, though, for which and further reasons he felt it was his interest and duty even to wait on and profit by the unlooked for occasion, though why he could not exactly tell, being as it was already several shillings to the bad, having in fact let himself in for it. Still to cultivate the acquaintance of someone of no uncommon calibre who could provide food, for affection would amply repay any small intellectual stimulation. As such, what he felt, from time to time, a first-rate tonic for the mind, added to which was the coincidence of meeting, discussion, that, well, old sort of the here today and gone tomorrow type. Nightlife was the whole galaxy of events, all went to make up a miniature cameo of the world we live in, especially as the lives of the submerged 10th is coal miners, divers, scavengers, etc. were very much under the microscope lately. To improve the shining hour, he wondered whether he might meet with anything approaching the same luck as Mr. Philip Beaufait have taken down in writing. Suppose he were to pen something out of the common groove, as he fully intended doing, at the rate of 1 guinea per column. My experience is, that to say, in a cabin shelter, The pink edition extra sporting of the Telegraphic Lily. As luck would have it, beside his oboeing as he was just puzzling again, far from satisfied. Over a country belonging to him in the preceding reviews, the vessel came from Bridgewater, and the postcard was addressed to. We didn't find the captain's age. His eyes went aimlessly over the respective captions which came under his special province, the Embracing give us this day our daily press. At first he got a bit of a start, but it turned out to be only something about somebody named H. Dupes, agent for typewriters or something like that. Great battle. Goko. To be continued.